Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf, BECHOROS Daf Nun Zayin. We are holding at the Mishnah, which is around 15 lines off the top. So, which animals, which goats, sheep are eligible to be entered into the corral for a Maser Behema? It says the Mishnah, basically all. HaKoil, all aboard. HaKoil Nechnasen L'dirlis Aser. All of them can be corralled into the pen for the purpose of Maser Behema. So they're all eligible candidates. You see, unlike a regular korban where even a small blemish, small mum can disqualify him from hakrava. Maser Behema applies even to a bal mum. The pasuk says so. Lo yivakir ben toiv l'ra. Don't differentiate between good and bad, between unblemished and blemished. So, what guidelines, what rules do we have? Which ones are ineligible? Hakol nechnas l'dilis aser, except chutz, for the following 5 categories of ineligibles. Chutz min hakalayim, a product of a crossbreed, utreifa, an animal which is deemed treifa due to an internal wound or whatever. V'yoytze doifen, born by cesarean, umechusar zman, too young, below 8 days old, right? So he's not yet roi, not fit for hakrava, so he doesn't belong in the pen at this point. V'hayasem, an orphan. How do we define a yasem? Ve'ezeu yasem kol shameise ima. The mother died, nishchata or shechted, v'achak yolda, and then she gave birth. Rashi words it like this. He says, kol shameise ima b'sh'as leida. So the mother animal died upon childbirth. It did not survive the experience. But otherwise, if it died afterwards, that's not considered a yasem. And this is learned from a pasuk, tachas ima. He has to relate to the mother. She has to have survived the experience with the offspring. Okay, so we exclude these 5 categories: kalayim, treifa, tzedaifen, muchaz zman, and yasem. Rabbi Shua Eimer, regarding the yasem, just one point. I feel nishchata ima. Even if the mother animal was shechted, but v'hashalach, the hide, the skin of the mother kaim still around, that can provide as a substitute for the actual mother. The Gemara later would tell us that they would wrap the offspring, the fresh newborn, with this hide, and that would give it, comfort and nurture it until it's able to stand on its own. So that takes place of the mother. Ain't a yasem, therefore he's not called a yasem. He's perfectly okay. Says the Gemara, so how do we know that in fact we disqualify these 5 categories? Kalayim, treifa, tzedaifen, muchas zman, and yasem. We have a pasuk regarding other karbanos. So the pasuk says, "Shoir oy chesef," an ox or what's the word oy coming to tell us? Shoir oy chesef prat, to exclude kalayim. Right, so prat kalayim, an crossbreed is disqualified from hakrava, and this is regarding other karbanos. We're not talking necessarily, maser behema there. Shlamim oy. Oy is, again, oy, what's that coming to do? Prat nidma, to exclude nidma. She explains, she'imay rachel v'huday mila'ez, with the offspring, is dissimilar in appearance to the mother. His mother is a sheep, and he looks like a goat. He's pasul for karban. Ki valed, what does that teach us? Prat li'yetzidoiven, born naturally as opposed to unnatural. The pasuk continues. The first 7 days, he stayed with his mother, and then, starting from the 8th day, he's eligible for hakrava. And prat, as opposed to muchos, he's premature, too young, below 8 days old. And from tachas imay, we learn prat liyasem, as opposed to a yasem, it doesn't have the imay. Okay, so these are exclusions by standard karbanis. How do we know to apply them to maser behema as well? Rabbi Yishmael, B'nai, Shal Rabbi Yechon Breko Eimer. We have a Gzera Shava to link the two. Nemer kan tachas hashevet. By Maser Behema it says, have the animals walk out single file, tachas hashevet, below the underneath the stick, the staff, as he's counting them. So we have tachas over here. V'nem alahala tachas imo. We have the word tachas over there by other karbonos. We connect tachas to tachas. Malalon. So just like by standard karbonos, prat l'chol shemas halal, we include all these types, these 5 that we mentioned. Actually, we only mentioned 4. Treifa is coming up in a minute. Afkan here as well. Regarding Maser Behema Prat, we exclude L'Kol Hashemas Halalu, these 4 exclusions. Okay, so we import the exclusion from Karbanis over to Maser Behema. Now we go the other way. Uma Kan Prat Treifa, just like over here by Maser Behema. A Treifa animal, which comes in all forms, missing its legs, right, is excluded. How do we know? We'll see in a minute. Afla Prat Treifa, likewise. Treifa is also an exclusion regarding regular karbonis. Now, and Rashi points this out. Rashi explains, how do we know that a treifa is not suitable for Maser Behema? So Rashi says in the third wide line in Rashi, Huma Maser Prat Treifa, says Rashi, Chsiv bo kol asher yavar. Kol asher yavar tachas hashevet. So Yavar mean has the ability to walk through. If it's missing its legs, it's not eligible, right? Prat l'treifa she'nei veres. The behema shenechtu charaglim nakru lamala. His legs was amputated too high up. That is one of the 18 treifas. So from there we learned that all types of treifas are excluded from Maser Behema. Okay, so bottom line, there are 5 psulim. 4 are imported from karbanis. Kalayim, yaitze daifen, mechus hazman and yasim. And the 5th is actually stated over here and exported to karbanos. Now the Mishnah began with the word hakoil. All aboard. Hakoil nechnosen dilis aser, except for XYZ. Hakoil is inclusive. What's it including? Hakoil esuyamai, says the Gemara lesuya, the Tanur Rabban is coming to exclude many other types which typically are puzzle from regular hakrava, but are okay regarding Maser. Tanur Rabban, Harive, an animal interacted with a woman, Vanirba was interacted by with a man, a muktzah, set aside for idol worship, Vaneva he was worshipped, Esnan, gifted to an immoral woman for services, Vamachir, switched for a dog, Vatumtum, genders are covered up, Adragonus, double gender, Kulan, Nichnasin, Udilis Aser. They all come into the pen for Maser. They're eligible, despite being ineligible to be brought as a shlamim or an oila. Why is Maser different? We'll get to it in a minute. So according to Tanakam, all these are in. Rabbi Shimon ben Yehuda Omer, he quotes Mishum Rabbi Shimon, he takes issue with 2. Tumtum v'advergenus. He says those are out. Ein nechnasen. We'll get to it in a minute. Why? Now, first, what is the opinion of the first Tanakam here? On the one hand, he excludes those 5 items in the Mishnah, Kalayim, Etzadayif, and etc., because we link it up to the halachas, the rules, the standards of regular karbanis. But in terms of this list, Reveh and Nirva, all these are okay, despite being not okay by other karbanis. V'tan dedan our Tana, who excludes some, but in his word hakoil, includes all the other ineligibles. How can we have it both ways? Look, Igamar tachas mikachim, if he's going to link Maser to carbon through the Gzereshava tachas hani namiloy, so just like he excludes those, these 2 should be excluded, just like ordinary karbonis. And if he's not going to adopt the link of the Gzereshava to compare it to other, then Hani Minali, how do you know to exclude those 4 categories? Lo'ilam Gomer, truthfully he does compare Maser to other karbonis. But these are different. Hani Rachman Rabbinu. These were included by the Torah, which allowed them for Maser use, because the Pasuk, in the discussion regarding blemishes, makes a reference to hashchasa, destruction. And the Gemara learns that this term, hashchasa, refers to blemishes of a more severe extent, spiritual blemishes. Whenever we find the term hashchasa, it's referring to a spiritual deficiency, a serious ruchnius tikkun. Eina eladvar erva. We're speaking about immorality of avodah zarah and idol worship, which affected this animal somehow. How do we know? What do we see? This term relating to those concepts. We find it connected to Dvar Erva, way back by the Mabul, where they were engaged in these activities, and there it uses the term hashchas, likewise you find it related to idol worship, right? So by the Torah, making reference to hashchas in the conversation about physical blemishes is basically what the Torah is doing. The Torah is linking them, connecting them. And we hinge it on each other. Kol shamum v'chol shamum poisel boy. A situation where a physical blemish affects the status of the animal. V'chol shamum poisel boy, such as standard karbonis, which have to be unblemished. Likewise, spiritual deficiencies, spiritual defects, Dvar Erva, avodah zarah, also a poisel boy have a similar effect. As opposed to Maser, which is unaffected by physical blemishes as discussed earlier. Right? If mum is not an issue, if mum is not an issue by Maser, likewise those spiritual defects as well. Ein Dvar Erva, avodah zarah poisel boy, nor are Dvar Erva and avodah zarah going to be an issue. Hence, our maser behema animal since mum is not an issue here, don't differentiate good, bad, blemished, unblemished, doesn't matter. Likewise, we accept even Dvar Erva avodah zarah, nami there too loy pasel be, it doesn't affect the animal. So now we have it all covered. Let's go down the list of acceptable animals. Revev and Nirva, well, they belong under the category of Dvar Erva. What about Muktzah and Nevat? That belongs under the category of avodah zarah. Ve'esnan, yeah, that's also Dvar Erva. What about Umechir? That's a tricky one. It's just a switch for a dog. That's not Erva avodah zarah. Well, that's Iskish le'esnan in the Torah. We find it linked together in the same breath to the Esnan. It's mentioned together in the same, so we compare it, and since Esnan is not an issue, nor is Mechir Kelav. What about Tumtum Adregnis? Why does Tanakam allow those? He says, Kosavar Sveiku, he holds that these are statuses of uncertainty. We're not sure how to label him. Okay, so true that regarding karbanos, they need to be a zachar or an akeva only. So you can't use this because maybe they're not really a zachar. Maybe if you need an akeva, it's not an akeva. So you have an issue using it for a regular carbon, which needs to be a zachar or an akeva. Let's say an oil needs to be a zachar, right? You can't know what these are, right? So when you need to be gender specific, you can't use these for practical reasons. But by Maser there's no gender specificity. It can be zachar, it can be nekeva. There's no issue using a tumtum androgynous because of Rasfeiku, it's not inherently deficient. It's just a suffix. Okay, a suffix works regarding Maser behema. But Shimon he takes issue with these two items. Why? Because Savar Lav, the Bach adds the word Lav. Lav Sveiku, it's not just a suffix. It's a perpetual state of uncertainty. It's a new status. It's inherently a new status. Tesis points out that it's different than the sheet that we had back in Daf Mem Beis that explained that a tumtum is merely an unknown because his signs are concealed. He holds no, it's a new gender, so to speak. It's a new status. Lav Sveiku, and therefore they are excluded from ordinary carbon use. And once we know that it's a halachic exclusion that applies there, well, we import that to Maser Behema as well through that linkage, the Gzera Shabbat that we had earlier, which allows for a transfer of psulim from carbon to Maser Behema, if it's a halachic exclusion. Rather, the Torah excludes this fellow. Zachar vada, vadois, it has to be a definite zachar, a definite nekeva, not something which is sort of a new gender, a new status. So it's a halachic exemption, a halachic exclusion. Hence, we import that concept, that disqualification to a maser as well. So bottom line, which animals are accepted in the pen, which are corralled into the deer for Maser Behema, which ones aren't. So far we have two opinions. We have the Mishnah with the Bryce, pretty much include everything except 4, 5. Kalayim, Treifa, Yitzadefin, Muchazizman, and Yosem. 4 are learned from Karbonis, and Treifa is learned here on site and exported to Karbonis. Otherwise, even Revev and Irva, which are Avodah Zarah / Arayas related issues, are okay by Maser. Tumtum Adregnus, that's given to dispute, and a comment says okay, because it's just a suffix. A suffix is okay, because whether you are a Zachor or a Nekeva, you're good for Maser, which isn't gender specific. Whereas Reb Shimon holds it's a new entity, excluded from Karbonis, and likewise from Maser Behema. Now comes yet another opinion on this matter. Tan Rabban, Hakol Nechnosen, bring them all into the pen for Maser. Everybody's okay, except Chutz Min HaKalayim VaTreifa. So instead of excluding 5, he only excludes 2, Kalayim and Treifa. We'll get that in a minute. Whose opinion is this? Divrei Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yehuda, Ish Kvar Bas Soisa, that was his name. Shamar quotes, Mishum Bishur. Amar Makiva, you're missing 3 more. Ani Shamati Emenu. I heard from your source of Yeshua that he actually adds, he expands the list. He adds 3 more to the exclusion list. Ani Shamati Emenu Af Yetadeifen Umuchazizman V'Yosem. But Tanakama insisted that these are okay. How? Why? But Tanakama, who only excluded 2, Kalayim and Treifa, Igamar, Tachas Mekachem. Where is he coming from? Is he coming from Karbonis and importing the exclusions from there, Hani Namiloi, so exclude the other 3 items as well? V'iloi Gamar, if he's not going to learn from Karbonis in terms of the rules of the exclusions, then okay, so then why is he excluding at all? I understand why he excludes a treifa. We discussed that earlier, because the pasuk speaks about an animal that can walk. A certain kind of treifa, missing his legs, can walk. It has to have the ability to walk, as opposed to a treifa who can't. So he's out. El Kalayim and only. Why does he exclude Kalayim, a crossbreed? If he's not going to source himself in other Karbonis and learn from there. Truthfully, he does link Masa to Karbonis. And therefore, he excludes Kalayim from Maser Behema. So once you're comparing and importing from Karbonis, what happened to the other items? Yitzadefin, Mechuzizman, Yasem, why are they okay? Answers the Gemara one by one. Regarding that one, we turn to the base. Savalok Reb Shimon. Reb Shimon who says, the Amari says, no, a cesarean is considered halachically a proper birth, in which case there's no reason to exclude him. Savalok Reb Shimon who tells us regarding a woman, even a Yitzadefin born by cesarean is considered a proper birth. And Rashi explains regarding giving her the status of a Yeledis, regarding the halachis of a Yeledis, Tumah v'Tahara, and likewise regarding qualifying the offspring for carbon by an animal. Vlad Ma'ayu would like Rabbi Yochanan, as opposed to Rabbi Yochanan, who says that even Rabbi Shimon would agree to disqualify Yitzadefin animal from Akrava. He disagrees with that. He's okay for there, and therefore he's okay for Maser. Now, next item. What about B'mchus Azman, the newborn below 8 days old? Why is he okay? So look, Reb Shimon bar Yehuda. He holds like Reb Shimon bar Yehuda, which we had the other day as well. He says that, true, you have to wait until day 8 to bring him as a karm, but in terms of including him into the Maser Behema process, the count and the designation, you could be Makalish him early in the game and wait until the 8th day to be Makar him. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Okay, so that's why he's in. Regarding the Yasem, says the Gemara, we're speaking about a unique case. We're speaking that the mother's hide is still around, which could be used to wrap up the offspring and to revitalize him. And this is who's speaking. Let's go back. Who's speaking? Rabbi Shua. Perfect. Bullseye. Rabbi Shua Tamei. Rabbi Shua. Litamei is in line with his opinion in our Mishnah, who says a hide can present a substitute for the mother. The Amar Filu Shachad is even if the mother shechted, but the shelach is around. It's not called a yasem. Okay, so at this point we have yet a third opinion in terms of who qualifies for Maser Behema. According to the Tanakam of this brisa, the only ones that are out are the Kalayim and the Treifa. Yesi Doifen is okay. So is Mechus Zman and the Yasim if the Shelach is around. Heid. Okay, speaking about this enwrapping phenomenon, Heid Rabbi Yishmael ben Sasriel, he had first-hand testimony that he testified. He came from Me'arkas Levena. He says, look, he tells Rebbe, Lefnei Rebbe, Bim Kaimeni, in our place, that's what we did. So they would skin the dead mother, they would wrap up the fresh newborn. Rashi explains, if the mother died, the mother animal happened to die during the childbirth, they remove the hide, they wrap the vlad, that gives him vitality, and that helps him survive the ordeal. The smell and the warmth. And that's what they would do. Amar Rebbe. So Rebbe exclaimed in excitement, oh, Baruch Hashem, now I chapped the pshat now a Mishnah. Amar Rebbe, in the Skala, it's now been revealed and explained, Tama Shel Mishnah saying the reason behind the halacha now Mishnah. Rabbi Shua, who says that if the shalach is around, it's not a yasem. Now I understand. I was wondering, what's the relevance between the mother's hide and the child? Now I understand. Because it would be applied to the offspring and will act in lieu of the mother. Okay, once he was offering testimonies, he says, we have some other interesting phenomena in our place. And some sound pretty extraordinary. Chazerin here are the lettuces, Lashon Chazeres, Rashi says. So our lettuce heads are huge. You know how many layers they have? 600,000. Chazerin Shem Kaimenu, Yesh Lahem, Shishim Riboy Klafim. They contain 600,000, 60 times 10,000 klafim, layers. The base hemses shaloi, just like very similar to an animal and its base hemsis, which is one of the stomachs, which has these little flabs inside to aid in digestion and breaking up of the food. So all these little flabs. So it's got so many flabs, 600,000. Actually, it's a girsa that we're missing a couple of words. That he was talking about another phenomenon. First, he spoke about the super-sized lettuces. Then he added Yitu Shem Kameno, the mosquitoes in our places. Yesh Lo Shishim Ribe Klaf Meis Hemse Shaloi. He has the 600,000, little ridges in his base hemsis. That's how big and substantial he is. Okay. Pamachas Naval Erez Echad Shem Kameno. Another point. You know how big our trees are? One time, one of our cedars dropped down, collapsed. You know how wide it was? Reminds me of the red trees in California. V'avru sheish esrei kroines al chudai, and there was room for 16 kroines, wagons, to travel side by side over its width. Not over its length, over its wide, over its narrow side, right? So along its pointy side, right? Lengthwise, not across widthwise. Al Chudai. Once saw a picture of the redwood trees in California. They actually have like a road going through one of the trees with, I think, like 2 lanes. So pretty substantial, pretty sizable trees. Another thing, one time, there was this big bird called Bar Yochni, and he dropped the egg that he was carrying, and it was so big that it drowned 60 cities. V'tava shishim krachim. V'shavar, and broke shloish me'ez harazim, 300 cedar trees. Perhaps those big cedar trees. That's how big it was, this egg. Some Mepharshim learned that the point of telling all this is that Hashem actually left over, before the Mabul. The sizes, the standard was so much bigger, and people were tall and big, and the whole world was a different dimension. And then the chet, the sinning, just shrunk everything, diminished everything, had a negative impact, and brought everything to miniature size. Hashem left over some remnants of these impressive phenomena, relics of pre-sin era, perhaps to show us how things could be. how things should be. When the bracha is there, when the blessing is there, when people do the right thing, and to give us a chizuk of our potential. The Maharsha actually has a whole discussion. He says these things are there are lessons embedded in all these phenomena. He says, for instance, the idea of these 600,000, this lettuce that has all these layers. He says that's connected to Torah. He says lettuce, the Gemara says, has an element of softness, an element of hardness. It starts off soft and ends up hard. He says in Torah, it's difficult in the get-go to get going, right? Kolas cholas kashes, as Rashi says by Matan Torah, right? To get us going, to get us warmed up, it takes a while to get the appetite, but eventually it's sweetest as can be, right? And the Torah encompasses 600,000 elements, because every Yid, he says, has his own perspective on the Torah. Torah Shel Peh, Hashem gives every Yid his own chelik in Torah. We all have our portion, our approach, our understanding, our own perception, of course, based on within the parameters of our tradition, our Masorah, the proper way to approach Torah, right? But within that, we have a lot of wiggle room, different ways to understand, and to ask and to answer and to appreciate the words of Torah. And each Yid, he says, just like we have 600,000 partsuf and 600,000 faces, right? And those two faces alike. There are 600,000 neshamas, likewise, in terms of approaches and mental tracks. We have 600,000 different perspectives in Torah, and each Yid has to strive to achieve his personal understanding, his personal appreciation, his chelik in Torah. Okay, in any case, he dropped the egg. It says the Gemara, Mishad Yilei. Since one is a Bar Yuchni so careless to drop his eggs, V'oksiv, the pasuk actually praises his ability to handle with care his eggs. Kanaf Ra'anonim Na'losa. There's a pasuk in Eiv. Hashem tells Eiv, look, were you the one who created these wondrous, powerful wings for this bird called Bar Yochni, which has such koyach to lift off this huge egg? And Na'alosa is comprised of 3 words. Noise, lifting, oile, ascending, v'neschat, and then descending down gently, softly, to keep it from breaking. So Hashem praises this bird for its agility, its power, and its softness. And here it's dropping its eggs. It was a beitza muzara. The bird noticed that this egg could not produce. It was ruined, it was spoiled, and that's why it just discarded of it. Like the plane releases extra fuel, and then it landed and demolished the whole area. Says the Mishnah. So we know which animals are eligible. Now, when did they do Maser Behema? Was it once a year? Was it Sholosh Gronos Maser Behema? The Chachamim instituted 3 separate gronos, like you have, the granary, right? It was like a gathering, like a garden is a gathering. And the Gemara actually later says the reason why the Mishnah chose the word Goren, the Tavla Kagoren, just like by the grain, it becomes Tevel. It's considered Tevel before the Maser was removed. Likewise, Midrabban, you should not partake in any of these animals, Selim or Shechtim, before you do Maser Behema. Now, technically, Minat Torah, there's no Tevel. So, although you meant to do it, and there's a huge mitzvah to do it, but if one actually chooses to eat the animal before Maser Behema was performed, he hasn't really eaten something which is forbidden. Number 2, when he does Maser Behema, it's meant to be an annual sort of ceremony, meaning it's meant to be a separate Maser Behema per year. So you can't mix last season with this season, right? Every year gets its own Maser Behema. The Rosh Hashanah Maser Behema is once a year, Echad B'Tishrei, whatever we'll see in the Mishnah, several opinions. And I'm meant to mix and match last season with this season. But with the Rabbanon, within the year itself, they split into 3 sections, 3 Guranas, 3 periods where you meant to stop, not use the animals at that point, do Maser Behema, and then proceed and use your animals. And more later we'll say that it corresponds to the 3 batches of animals that get born throughout the season, the early, the mid ones, and the late ones. And it also corresponds to Yom Tovim, because the point was to ensure adequate supply of animals for Yom Tovim, for Karbanos, for consumption. So they pretty much timed the granes to coincide with Yom Tovim, because the point was with Rabbanan, once the Garen arrives, you stop. And the Erlich, animal taker farmer would wait, would want to do a mitzvah, so he would actually wait. He wouldn't use the animals until he got to the Garen, and then he took the maser. So this would ensure, the fact that they established these grunts would ensure that there was adequate supply for karbanos, and for consumption. Because until the maser was done, the animals weren't going to be taken, and then once the maser is done, it's Erev Yom Tov, and there you go, you have what to eat for Yom Tov. Shalosh Geronos LaMaser Behema. There were 3 established junctures, 3 time periods of Geron for Maser Behema. Before Pesach Pesach. So before Pesach, Prois means half of what? We'll see in the Gemara, half of the 30-day preparatory period before Pesach. So basically 15 days to Pesach was the first occasion. Prois Hatzeres, and likewise before the Yom Tov of Shavuos, Prois HaChag. Divrei Rabbi Akiva, that's Rabbi Akiva's opinion. Pretty straightforward. 15 days to Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot. Ben Azai says no. Ben Azai Omer, he moves it slightly. He pretty much agrees, but he moves one slightly over. Instead of speaking about 15 days to Pesach, let me identify the day. Let me tie it to a day on the calendar. Ben Azai Omer be'esrim b'tisha b'adar, 29 of Adar. Be'echad b'sivan, instead of 15 days to Pesach, to Shavuos, Aleph Sivan. And instead of saying 15 days to Tishrei, Be'eser Tisha B'Av, he moves it back to the 29th of Av. So actually he takes issue with all 3 things. Reb Lezer, Rabbi Shimon, I remember he had a third opinion. Be'echad Ben Nisan, which is very similar to the previous 2 opinions, but he gives it a date on the calendar, first day of Nisan. Be'echad B'Sivan, which is similar to the previous Shita. Be'eser Tisha B'Elul. So this is similar to the Tanakama, around 15 days to Tishrei, but he pegs it 29 of Elul. Why is he called Chavtes Be'elul? Why did they establish it on the first day of Tishrei, which is exactly 15 days to Sukkot? Because it's Yom Tov, Neshu Yom Tov. You can't do Maser Behema on Yom Tov. Rashi explains, because they have to slap on that red paint, which you can't do on Yom Tov. That's why they moved it back Be'esr B'Tishra Be'elul to 29 of Elul. Rabbi Omer, he has yet another opinion. Be'echad Be'elul, Rosh Hashanah L'Maser Behema. He says, the new year starts Echad Be'elul. So anything born past that point belongs to the next year. But now Omer, he's not sure. Do we go with Rameir's opinion that Elul is the start of the new year, or does he go like the previous opinion? Elul is the end of the old year. So that's why he says the Elul guys, the Elul offspring, have to be set aside and have their own Maser Behema, because they're not sure which season they belong to. But now the Omer, Ho'elulim mis'asrim b'fnei atzman. They get their own master. Continues the Mishnah. Kol ha'nilada mechad b'tishrei ad esr b'tisha be'elul hara elu mitzdarfen. So the Mishnah continues that the Rosh Hashanah is echad b'tishrei. It's the start of a new year regarding Maser Behema. Anything born from that point until a full circle, the last day of Elul, which is a full circle, full year, you can combine them. So let's say 2 were born Tishrei, 2 were born Cheshvan, etc., etc. You come together, bring them together, and do one Maser Behema on them all. But Chamish Lefnei Rosh Hashanah, Chamish Lachar Rosh Hashanah, 5 before Rosh Hashanah, 5 after, 2 different years, 2 different seasons, you can't combine them in and mitzdarfen. However, Chamish Lefnei Goren, Chamish Lachar Goren, 5 before the Goren, 5 after the Goren, those times established by the Chachamim, those don't constitute real seasons. Harei mitzdarfen, you can combine them. So if you have enough, come the Goren, you have a whole minyan, fine. But if you're short, wait until the next Goren, and you can combine the 2 groups. In Kain Lama Amru Lama Nebru Shalosh Goren Maser Behema. So if you can combine all the granis, so what's the point of establishing 3 granis? The answer is, Chacham set up certain zmanim, certain junctures, where you're meant to stop, take stock, and make your masa behema. But technically, it's all one and the same season. I mean, you can combine them if you need to. Before the Gurn arrives, you can sell, you can shecht, without hesitation. But once the Gurn arrives, midrabban, you meant to stop in your tracks, lo yishchait, until you do the maser behema. But v'im shachat, pater. But if he did shchita, it's pater, meaning he hasn't committed an issa deraisa, although he didn't really, follow the rules. And I'm going to see in the Gemara, really, a person who was seeking to do the mitzvah properly, he would actually wait it out until the Gurn arrives, so that he can do a proper mitzvah on all his animals. He wouldn't, sell or shecht before the Gurn comes. But technically, he has not committed. There's no isser to do so. But once the Gurn applies, it's also the Rabbanon, unless you do the maser. But Minat-Torah, really, the whole year is considered one entity. Okay, so Chacham established 3 granis. Ma'ishnat las asked him, what's the point of 3? Why the magic number 3? Amar Rabba Bar Shila Kaval, corresponding to, parallel to the 3 sort of batches of animals that are born in that season. The Kaval Churfi, the earlier batch, V'afli, the midterm batch, V'kaiti, the ones born later in the year. Hence, 3 granis that correspond to these 3 shipments. Ma'ishnat B'hanis Mani, what's unique about these specific days? Amar Rabbi Tanchum B'Reder B'chia Yishvar Akoy, turn to the next Amar, Kadei, Shtei Behem Matsuya, Loy L'Galam, to ensure proper supply for the Oil L'Galam. Okay, so they have animals to be makar in the Beis Hamikdash, to consume on the Yom Tov. And Rashi explains that a person would typically wait, right? He would wait until the Goyren, and this way, all the animals were there, ready to go, and once the Goyren arrives, which is right before the Yom Tovim, perfect timing, now we have enough animals to go around. And the Gemara makes a point of saying that really, v'afagav desnat, even though we just learned in the Mishnah, technically, you don't have to leave your animals around. Actually, before the Gurn actually kicks in, you can consume, you can sell, but nevertheless, a person who is an upstanding person, who is seeking to invest in mitzvah and ilm haba, the real thing, a person is pleased. Till his avid mitzvah b'mamayne. He's seeking that his possessions, his property, his money should be involved in a mitzvah. So he wants to first do the mitzvah properly. He doesn't want to sell before. He wants to leave it around, do the maser behema when the time comes. And then he sells, right? Then he'll sell and eat. Okay, so a person who's looking to do the optimal, the ideal mitzvah, he would actually leave his animals, wait until the Gurn arrives, do the maser behema, and then sell it. Perfect timing, just in time for Yom Tov. Now the question is, why does the Mishnah call it Gurn? What's unique about Gurn, which applies in this case? Gurn is a granary with the grain is sitting, the Tavlka Gurn, to tell you that it has a similar status as the Gurn, which has Tevel status before the Maser is done, right? Grain cannot be consumed before Maser is separated. That's also Minat-Torah. In similar fashion, the Rabban instituted a similar parallel track regarding the animals, that once this Zman arrives, we give it a status like a Gurn. You have to stop in your tracks, don't eat, don't sell, until you do the Maser Behem. Okay, we'll leave the rest for tomorrow, Be'ez Hashem. In the meantime, which animals are invited into the pen? Basically everybody, except for Kalayim, Treifa, Yitzadef, Mechazman, and Yasain. And according to the Brisa here, we actually allow anything other than Kalayim B'Treifa. Yasain was speaking that the Shalach is around, right? Tumtum Adreganus is another point of dispute. Tanakama and Reb Shimon. We learned about the Shalach of the mother, which was used to enliven the offspring. And we spoke about the process of the timing of Maser Behema. So Minat-Torah, anything within the year goes together. The Rabbanan, there were 3 granas, which require you to stop and do the Maser Behema at those points, corresponding to the 3 birthing seasons, which were actually adjacent to the Yom, and were lined up with the Yom Tovim to ensure adequate supply for the Oil Regal. All the best, you Hatzlacha.